Hello, I am Anawoltus, and today I'm going to give you a sort of beginner's guide on Sudoku. So, Sudoku is a game, and in this game, as it actually says in the description here, every Sudoku has a unique solution that can be reached logically. Enter numbers into the blank spaces so that each row, that is to say, moving side to side in this direction, and each column, that is to say, moving up and down in this direction, and 3x3 box, which are delineated by the thicker lines, contains the numbers 1 through 9. For more help, try our interactive Sudoku tutorials. Now, Web Sudoku is a website that allows you to play Sudoku online to some extent. Now, that being said, for the purposes of this video, I usually play on hard. I like to listen to something very philosophical, someone talking about some important issues, and I play on hard difficulty just to relax. But for the purposes of this video, I'm going to go down to medium so that we can have a bit faster progress in the game and we can actually see what happens. So anyway, as the description here was saying, it is a game where you have to logically solve the puzzle here, and it is solved when it is all the little boxes, these little squares, are full of numbers, and the numbers range from 1 through 9, and of course there can be no repeats of the same number within each of the squares, each of the columns, or each of the rows. So that makes it a little bit tricky to some people. But another thing to note is that there are some deeper logical implications, and a good Sudoku puzzle will always be designed so that there is only one solution. So if you ever get worried that there might be two different ways to solve things, that's probably just in your head, or you're playing a very bad Sudoku puzzle, to be honest. But any good, respect-worthy Sudoku puzzle will have only one solution. So anyway, how do we do this? Okay, I just found something, and I'd like to share it with you on this Sudoku puzzle. So, let's take a look at this box here, and think about what numbers are we missing here. We've got a 2, a 3, and a 6, but we do need a 1, and a 4, and a 5, not a 6, but a 7, an 8, and a 9. So let's take a look at how we would go about finding a 1. So, first of all, obviously the only places where we could put a 1 are places that are already not occupied by other numbers. Second of all, there isn't already a 1 in here. That's very important, and a lot of people slip up occasionally where they accidentally put two of the same in the same box, which isn't something you should be doing. But third of all, let's take a look at the surrounding boxes. So, this box has a 1, this box has a 1, and this box has a 1. And they all surround the box in a sort of, I guess, crisscross pattern here. And if we can only put 1 1 in each row and column, that means because of this one, we can't put a 1 here or here. Because of this one, we can't put a 1 here or here. And because of this one, we can't put a 1 here or here. So obviously, if we add up all the spaces that we excluded this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one, the only place left that we could possibly put a 1 is right here. Now this might sound a little bit long-winded and too explainy for some people, and the reason I'm doing this is, of course, so that if somebody's missing the point, that person understands. Because I know sometimes not everybody's on their A game each day. We can't always all think clearly. Maybe your head is in the clouds, so it's good to know. So I'm thinking, wow, I just got a 1, but what if me getting a 1 here helps me find a 1 somewhere else? So let's see, something within range of this box, that is to say within a column or a row of it, that doesn't already have a 1. oh look, we can see this box. And the only ones within the 4 cardinal directions are up and down. Left and right are the other 2 directions, of course, but we can only see ones to the up and down. So there's a 1 here, which means we can't put a 1 here, here, or here, and there's a 1 here, which means we can't put a 1 here. And look at that, the 1 that we found here allowed us to exclude this 1 space so that we can finally figure out that we can put a 1 here. And there you go, that's the next step of the puzzle done. But let's go back to our original box. Let's think. Well, we got a 1, so we've got a 2 and a 3. What about a 4? Well, let's take a look around here. There's a 4 here, which means we can't have 1 here or here. And there's a 4 here, which means we can't have 1 here or here. Which means the only places left that a 4 could possibly exist are here and here. Oops, we've got 2, which means we don't have all the clues in the bag yet for a 4. So how about a 5? A 5, we can't go here or here, but I just noticed something very interesting about the 5. And this is a little bit advanced for some people, but a little bit too simple for the real pros. But I just noticed a 5, of course, can't be here. But what about this side? Here, here, and here, and here. Well, we can't be here either, but in these 3, how can we narrow it down? Well, I just found something very interesting. If we're looking at all the columns in this middle super column, I guess that's what you could call it, we can see that this one already has a 5 here, which means obviously there can only be a 1 5 in this column and 1 5 in this column. So, if we look at the top box here, we notice that a 5 can't be here, which means a 5 can't be in this column in this box. But since there already is a 5 in this box, there can't be a 5 in this column in this box either. Which means that the only box in which a 5 can be in this column is the bottom box here. And since a 5 can't be in this space, it means a 5 has to be here because it is the only place in the entire column that a 5 can possibly be. There you go. Problem solved. So let's take a look. A 7, perhaps. Oh, look at that. We can exclude these 2, but we don't really have another place to exclude a 7. However, I just noticed something interesting. That means that a 7 in this box can only be in this column, which means that it cannot be in this column in any of the other 2 boxes that form the super column. But what that implies to me is that since a 7 cannot be here, here, or here, it means that since there's nowhere else in here that a 7 could be, it has to be here, which allows me to find a 7 here. And look at that, a 7 here and here in these 2 rows, and a 7 in this column excludes that, so there's a 7 here. And so on. It keeps going and going and going. And look, a 2 and a 2 in these 2 columns, which means a 2 has to be here, a 2 and a 2 here and here in this row and in this row, but 1 in this column, which means a 2 can only be here in this box. And by logic, we can figure out that a 2 has to be there as well. And sometimes you can really get on a roll with this. You can roll on and find more and more things that make sense, more and more things, more and more ways to find these things. Sometimes you have to go through several logical steps to figure out something. And I always find that very fascinating to do in this game. So 9s cannot be here, so a 9 has to be here. But 9s can be here or here. It can also only be here, which means they can only be here. There you go. And let's take a look. A 9 can only be here. And look at that. We don't have to worry about 9s anymore because we've got them in every single box. We've got a 9, 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 9, 9, 9, 9. Very good that we have solved that. So, what else is there to solve? Well, let's take a look around. So let's go back to this box. So we've found a 1, a 2, and a 3. A 4, I just realized, cannot be in this column in this box. It cannot be in this column in this box because this box already has a 4, which means it can only be in this column in this box. But this, oh, sorry, I should say row. The last few times I said column, I meant to say row. But this column is excluded because of this 4 here, which means a 4 can only be here. And we solved our dilemma that we had found earlier in the video. Okay. So, what else? An 8 is here, an 8 is here. 8 blocks off here, 8 blocks off here, an 8 has to be here. Which means an 8 has to be in one of these 2 spaces, but an 8 cannot be in these 2 boxes in this super column, which means it has to be in this box. Okay. See how the logic goes? It just keeps going and going and going. You can get on a roll, you can slow down. And I think this is a good place to stop. Eventually, you would fill in all the boxes, and at that point, you can, if you're playing Web Sudoku, you can say, how am I doing? And it'll tell you if you messed up or not. But normally, you'll know when you've done it right, if you're paying attention while you do it. If you don't pay attention, then you may mess something up. You may put a double in there, which is not the thing you should be doing. So anyway, I'd like to thank you all for watching. Is there a game that you would like me to do a beginner's guide on? Please say so in the comments below. But for now, I thank you all for watching, and I will be seeing you all next time on Awoltos over and out.